In January 2013, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam checked into a hotel in downtown LA. She was on her solo trip up the West Coast, Vancouver to San Diego to LA to Santa Cruz. She called her parents every day. On January 31st, she didn't call. She was never seen alive again. 19 days later, guests started complaining about the water. Low pressure, strange color, a taste they couldn't describe. A maintenance worker climbs a roof to check up the tanks. The Elisa Lam case is one of the most talked about cases in the last decade, and today I want to do something different with it. Not just tell you about what happened, but to tell you what the internet and people did with it. The internet got this tragedy catastrophically wrong, and I want to see with you what this case actually tells us about mob psychology, mental health, and how we consume tragedy. Hi, welcome to Pretty Dark Mind. Let's get into it. Before we talk about what happened at Cecil Hotel, I want to talk about who Elisa Lam was. She was a 21-year-old student in the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, a daughter of immigrants from Hong Kong. She had her own blog called Ether Fields. In this blog, she was talking about fashion, about books, and also about her personal life, especially honestly and openly about her mental health. Elisa was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, and without any shame, she wrote about it. About hard days, about how it was to take medication, and about how to live with any mental illness. Her friends described her as caring, thoughtful, funny. She was not by any measure a fragile person. She was someone navigating a real condition while building her life, while traveling alone. On January 2013, she set off for a solo trip up of California coast. She was so excited. Her Tumblr posts showed that it was someone who was genuinely excited about seeing new places, about going to new bookstores, to some coffee shops, about describing cities she is seeing. On January 26, she checked up into Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and that's where things started getting complicated. The Cecil Hotel has a history like the list of everything that can go wrong in the building. It opened in 1827 in what was at that time the respectable part of downtown LA. Within few decades, the neighborhood changed significantly and made Cecil one of the cheapest hotels in the neighborhood. And this made the hotel a destination for people who had nowhere else to go. Over the decades, the hotel became a site for numerous suicides, deaths, incidents. Serial killer Richard Ramirez, known as Night Stalker, lived there in 1980s when the rooms were as cheap as $14 a night. Austrian serial killer Jack Unterwegen stayed there in 1991. A hotel has rebranded itself as Stay on Main shortly before Elisa's visit. It was a deliberate effort to attract younger, budget-conscious travelers. And it surely worked on Elisa if she booked it. She was initially placed in a shared room, but after a couple of days, her neighbors started complaining. She left some strange notes on their beds, she locked the door and asked them for a password to enter the door. So all her actions concerned them. And what the hotel did, they just moved her to a single room so she can disturb nobody. A few days before she disappeared, Elisa attended a live taping of a TV show. She was escorted by security due to disruptive behavior. She was, in retrospect, in mental health crisis, but at that time, nobody connected the dots. On January 31st, the day she was supposed to check out and to travel to Santa Cruz, Elisa was captured on elevator security camera. This was the last time she was seen. The video is 2.5 minutes long. In the video, she enters elevator alone. She presses multiple buttons, then she leans out to check the hallway from both sides. She steps back. She moves to the corner. After, she leans forward again to check the hallway, and it seems like she is talking to someone or something that is not there. Her hands are moving strangely. Notably, the elevator doors never closed while footage continues. When the LAPD releases footage on February 13th, it went viral immediately. Millions watched them. Everybody had their theories. The internet did what internet does. It organized, it theorized, and it started to look for a killer immediately. And in doing so, it caused a significant amount of harm to people who had nothing to do with her death. A musician named Pablo Vergara, who performed under the name Morbid, uploaded a video of himself from Cecil Hotel days before Elisa's disappearance. His music video featured dark imagery, and the online community decided immediately he was responsible. He received thousands of death threats, his social media account was mass reported and shut down, his email flooded, and he himself was thinking about ending his life. He says that he came close to ending his own life as a result of harassment. He was, as investigators confirmed, at the time of Elisa's death in Mexico, and he had no connection to Elisa whatsoever. This is something the Netflix documentary handled really well. The idea that when we turn the tragedy into a puzzle, we forget that the pieces are real people. The elevator footage, which seemed so inexplicable, also turned out to have some straightforward explanation. Elisa had accidentally pressed the door hold button, and specifically in this elevator, hold button kept the doors open for 2 whole minutes. There was no one controlling the elevator. There was no conspiracy. There was a young woman alone in a state of mental crisis in a hotel which has a history of letting people down the crack. On February 19th, 19 days after Elisa's disappearance, a maintenance worker climbed up the roof to check up for the water complaints of their guests. He found Elisa's body in one of the 4 huge water tanks on the rooftop, with all her belongings, with her phone. By the way, her phone was never recovered after that. The coroner's initial ruling was inconclusive. After the toxicology results came back, the official finding was accidental drowning with a bipolar disorder as a significant contributional factor. Investigators determined that Elisa has not been taking her mood stabilizers a couple of days before her death. Investigators determined that Elisa has not been taking her mood stabilizers for a couple of days before her death, only her stimulant medication. Forensic psychotherapists who examined the case noted that such combination can trigger manic or psychotic episodes, specifically when the person was under the stress already, which can include hallucinations and some kind of disoriented behavior. This is the exact behavior we saw on the footage. The question of how she physically entered the roof through the locked alarm door and how she got inside the tank, which required to use a ladder and to open an extremely heavy lid, remains unclear. Police concluded that most likely she entered the roof by fire escape on the side of the building, but the question how she got into the tank still being unanswered. The case is officially closed. Not everyone accepts this, and to tell the truth, some physical questions are genuinely unresolved. But the most important truth is that the young woman who was struggling, who was far from home, who needed help, didn't get it, and that part has nothing mysterious about it all. I want to end on something I think about every time on cases like this. The Elisa Lam case became phenomenal partly because of hotel history, partly because of the viral footage, but mostly of something very human, We are deeply uncomfortable when we have something unresolved. Psychologists call this need for closure. We are wired to assign patterns, to assign cause and effect, to make stories out of chaos. When the official explanation feels incomplete, our minds keep searching. And when we search collectively, online, without guardrails, we sometimes destroy real people in the process. There is also something worth naming about Elisa's mental health, both treated by internet and arguably by the hotel. Her behavior in the days before her death was visible to multiple people, by her neighbors, by security who was watching and controlling the footage from elevator. And what they did, they just moved her to another room without even checking on how she was doing. Mental health crises don't always look like we expect. Sometimes they look like somebody pressing buttons in the elevator. Sometimes it looks like somebody leaving strange notes on the bed. And sometimes the only thing person in the state needs is just to ask how they are doing, rather than rearrange furniture around them and completely forgetting about them. Elisa Lam was 21 years old. She had a blog, a sense of humor, a family who loved her, and a trip she was super excited about. She deserved better than what the Cecil Hotel gave her. She deserves better than what the internet did with her story. I really hope this video gave her a little bit of that back. I want to hear your thoughts on the case, on an internet investigation, on how we treat mental health in true crime. Comments are open. Subscribe if this is your kind of the content. New video is coming soon. I'll see you then.